And we're live. Hello, guys. What is up? Welcome or welcome back to my channel, The Tarot Magician. Renee here. Today, I have a very special guest, Mitchell Osborn. So I want you guys to welcome him. And also, I have the link to his channel down below in the description box. That way, you guys can go ahead and go to his channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, also the bell notification, because you do lives and regular uploads. Is that correct?
I do. I pretty much do. Every Saturday, I upload a weekly forecast for Monday to the next Sunday. And, it's so funny because I'm like, do I dive in now? Because I had a whole conversation about this. I did like a Terracon, post-Terracon chat last Saturday.
Yes.
And I remember a year ago after doing the Terrathon, I was like, I need to do more of this. I have a channel that I've cultivated. My first show I ever did was August 1st of 2012. And
Wow.
I watched that sad video. And every year I used to post it. So now I put in my calendar every year and I put the link to repost this because I want people who see me the way I do it now,
Right.
to see how I did it the very first time. The camera's looking up my nose. I'm like, hi, everybody. My name is Mitch. And I'm like, what's up, everybody?
I
Yeah.
think
So
that's normal, though. I think that's normal for everybody. Like, we all look back
yes.
at our first videos and we're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so glad I've improved since then.
Yeah.
Well, that is
It
awesome.
was
So,
fun.
like I said, what was that?
I was gonna say it's funny because I learned like sharing that. Marie Forleo is she's a kind of a celebrity personality and does a lot of things about being your own entrepreneur and stuff like that. And I never forget, she showed her first one and it was horrible compared to, because she's got like a couple $100,000 budget now for her works. So, but
Right.
it was like wow.
It just goes to show that literally anybody can do it, though, right?
Yeah.
That's the good thing about it. All
And,
right,
and I'll
guys.
tell you, I've learned everything I've learned from YouTube. That's the funny thing. I have a light bouncing off the wall over here. I have a light bouncing off my desk, and I've got two ring lights right up here. So
Uh-huh.
this 55-year-old doesn't look quite as bad.
That's awesome. Well, I have one ring light in front of me, but it's like one of those small ones that attaches to the webcam stand. And then I just have like the little sparkly lights behind me just for fun.
Your lighting looks great. I think it looks
Thank
great.
you.
And
Thank
I
you.
think
Yeah, thank
did
you.
I mention I wanted to swim in the background?
Yes. Okay, so when I got this backdrop, it was actually a gift from one of my moderators because my subscribers, my mods, they are awesome. They always donate to the channel and they gift me like a whole bunch of stuff on my wish list. So this was on my wish list because I like to do themes every month just to like switch things up. Like, I'm an Aries, so I like to make things different. I get tired of doing the same thing like all the time. So that's part of my channel. I like to have themes. So I was like, you know what? It's like summertime. I'm definitely getting into the summer vibes. And I thought this was perfect.
Yeah.
My
It's funny
husband
because I'm
was,
a Pisces.
yeah, I was
So
going to say, my husband is a Pisces too. So he loves it.
that's funny. But you said you like to always change things up. No. I love, and I don't know if your husband's like this, but think
Yes,
of water. Water likes to follow the same path all the time.
yes,
And I have the template, it's the same thing. Usually about every 2, 5, 10 years, spirit thumps me on the head and say, you might want to change up how you do the intro, or let's
yeah.
shake up actually what you do on your videos. But yeah, it's funny how it's like, and my husband is always like, can we not eat at the same place this Friday night? I'm like, okay, sure. I'm okay.
That, however, I do like to stay consistent because I know what I like, and like I like to eat the same stuff a lot of the times. But like growing up, because my dad actually owns a Chick-fil-A, so growing up I had Chick-fil-A constantly. So I think because of that, like that's what got me in like my patterns of like what I eat.
Yeah,
I do agree with that though.
it's funny.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right in. What do you say, guys? I know we've been talking. I feel like your energy is so like open and welcoming that I can just like talk to you about anything. And that's part of the reason why I actually wanted to have you on my channel was because of that. Like also I'm like I do qualify as an empath as well. So I definitely like feel when other people's energy is like kind of similar to mine, like we have the same vibe. So thank you
Yeah.
for agreeing to come on. I really, really appreciate it. And I really just want you to kind of like introduce yourself. Let us know like your journey, your work. Just give us like, basic details on how you got started in your path, if that's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was that very hyperactive child growing up,
Mhm.
so much so that I started my coffee journey at around 6 years old,
Oh my
because they didn't pass out Ritalin back in the early 70s. So the doctor literally said to my mom, "Give him coffee, because coffee is speed and
right,
Ritalin is speed, so it helps focus and kind of counteracts the hyperactiveness." So
right,
I
yeah,
was a very hyperactive kid. Sunday mornings, I'm up at 6 a.m. Nobody else in the house is up. And I remember sitting at the table. My mom played bridge and cards and rook and a lot of board games and card games. And I remember sitting at the table, and I would take her cards and I would hold it up on my head, and I would try to guess the color first, because that's 1 out of 2. Then I would try to guess the suit, because that's 1 out of 4. And then I would
mhm,
try to guess, like, the actual card. And
right.
I would try to move pencils with my brain. So I was doing weird things at that age.
I think
Oh
we've
my
all
God.
tried that at one point though, like and move like the spoon in the coffee, like in Practical
Yes.
Magic, like
Yes. And the thing is like, I know I can move objects,
uh-huh.
but my humanness gets in the way. It's
Yeah,
like, I know, just like I know I can fly, but
I agree.
the humanness in me is
Mhm.
like, oh, but we've all agreed to this matrix right here. So I don't know if you should try it. Because in my dreams, I fly really well.
I was gonna say that in my dreams, I move things all the time, like with telekinesis. Is that the
Yeah.
technical term for it? That's when you said like when you feel like you can. I got the shivers because I was like, oh my gosh, like I've always felt the same way too. Because in my dreams, I have the tendency of like opening and closing doors without even like realizing I do, and I'm like, okay, like what does that mean? So I wake up and I literally look at my door and it'll be closed. And normally I sleep with my door closed, but sometimes it is open when I wake up. And I'm like, I know I didn't do that. So it was either my husband woke up who like just like forgot to close the door, but he knows also to close the door because he knows that I'm comfortable with it closed. So
That's
sometimes
funny.
it does get to me where I'm like, okay, like no, I'm just not gonna let it. I'm not gonna let it phase me. I'm just gonna go back to sleep. Like so, I
Uh,
love that. So is that how you got started in your path?
So, I was doing that, and, the household was, kind of conservative, not really, Polk County, Florida, a little bit of a, you know, rednecky kind of an area. There was wealth there too, but just a simple town. And so my mom could talk about dreams. That was okay, but nothing else beyond that. And
Right.
then, flash forward to, 1999 December, coming out of the closet, basically moving away from the organized religion that didn't feel right to me.
Right.
Books literally in the Barnes and Noble, I heard like, "Come over here." And I'm like, what? And I was like, so the first book ever, it's back to somewhere, was
Mhm.
You Are Psychic by Deborah Lynn Katz. And I remember reading that, and that was my first one in. I bought tarot decks and tried to learn them, got scared, threw them away. I've apologized if you probably heard me talk about this before, if you know me. Somehow, somewhere,
I don't
I
blame
believe.
you though, because I've thrown porcelain dolls away, so I can see why you've been scared because I've done the same. Anytime I get a porcelain doll, and I get them a lot because my Thea used to give them to Christmas for me when I was little. Every Christmas, she would give me a porcelain doll, and every year I would throw it out.
Wow. Was it just
I don't
staring
blame
at you?
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So yeah, so I started just studying. I was still in Little Winter Haven, and then when I moved to Orlando with my husband, I got to go into classes. So I did a lot of stuff on my own.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been in my master's program, PhD program since 1999. I mean, literally, you can see all the books back there, and I've
No.
probably, if they're upright, I've pretty much read them.
Mhm.
So, just consumed everything I can.
Mhm.
Tarot cards are my heart. I'll never forget, when I moved in with my husband, he had animals and I didn't at the time, but I've always been a little connected to him.
Mhm.
I was actually like the pet cemetery guy.
Yeah.
Nobody would ever want to bury the pets from our family house. And I was like, I'll bury the freaking pet.
Yeah.
Pisces, he's okay with death.
Mhm.
But so I moved in, and I remember teaching classes on tarot cards and stuff. And I remember saying to one lady, I said, "Oh God, I can just see it one day. My business card is going to say pet psychic, you know, so be careful what you say out loud. Because
Exactly. I say that all the
so so my full-time career is health and fitness, but my part-time is this, and probably 40% of this business is with animals and animal communication, you know, alive, crossed over, you know, just all kinds of things. And then probably about 40%, you know, the tarot cards. And
Mhm.
then the other about 10, 20% mindfulness, which can lead into, I call it mindfulness, you know, coaching, because I use tools like NLP, EFT tapping, eye movement therapy, which is like EMDR, just a different name.
Right.
And then also hypnotherapy. You know, I'm a
I
trained
love that.
clinical and person
Always wanted to do
clinical.
that.
It's 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 a beautiful thing to partake in.
Mhm.
Um, I love doing it. I love with the clients I've worked with over the years. Um, I feel like my thing is the here and now with the cards.
Yeah.
So if clients ever get there, then we will tap into that. So I usually get the ones that are supposed to come to me for that. Because if I
Yeah.
was full time, you know, if I did this full time, then absolutely I'd have a lineup of them because it is good money.
Yeah.
It takes more time, but it's just a little more laborious in the work. So,
I get
but
it.
yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah, and then like I said, I got a pretty full schedule in my life. I balance well.
That is good though that you can balance, because balance can be a little bit tricky.
Oh yeah.
So tell me more about your animal communication. I'd love to know more about that, because I mean, I'm a psychic and medium as well, so I can vibe with that. But the animal communication for me is a little different. Even though, like, growing up, I'll tell you, I've always had a connection to animals, but I think it's mainly because of my empathic abilities. They can sense that, so they feel comfortable with me. I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many times I have gone to like either a friend's house or a family member's house, and they always like, oh, be careful with, the dog, because he's not very good with people. He barks and whatever, or she barks. And then as soon as I step in the room, they come to me and they act like they've known me for like ever. And they're always
Yeah.
surprised. Always. I cannot tell you how many times that happens. So for me, I would like to know more about that part of your work, if you don't mind. Like, do you have any
Yeah.
stories, or like tell us?
Yeah.
Ready.
And the the interesting thing of is what you just spoke of happens a lot. Happens a lot with me, but also with other people. And a
Right.
couple things with regards to that is, first of all, your energy is probably in a calm state
Mhm.
of being. You've
Yes.
probably done some work on yourself.
Hmm.
Um, and then, but more importantly, you probably don't want anything from the animal.
True. Hmm.
And we had a cat, Toby, and my husband would say, "Oh, that's Toby the Bean Cat." And one day I finally said, "Okay, listen, from this day forward, we're
Hmm.
no longer going to refer to him as the Mean Cat. We're just going to say he's
Right.
particular, just
Yeah.
particular,
Hmm.
particular." And the reason, because you don't want to give life to something, and you don't want to continue to support maybe a belief or the energy of what may not really be true. Maybe he is a mean cat, but I think he was just, maybe the Phantom of the Opera was, but he was probably just misunderstood because he just wanted love.
Correct.
But yeah, so I remember actually saying this to somebody, and it was somebody who already rubbed me the wrong way anyway in life. He was like the friend of a boyfriend,
Right.
and I was like, "Yeah, that's Toby." I said, "Just if he comes to you, he may rub against you, but he may swat you. He doesn't have any claws. He probably won't bite you, but I would just say, just kind of leave him alone, let him do his own thing." "Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm a cat person." So
Uh-huh.
he gets closer to him. He starts to pick him up, and I say, "Listen, I've already told you once." I said, "This is not the place to work at your abandonment issues on my animal."
Right.
Because a lot of times people are like, what do they want to do? They want to hold the cat, the dog, love me, lick me, kiss
Right.
me. It's like they're looking for love in any way they can get. And the animals know that. You're using me. Or okay, smile for the camera because I'm going to post you on Instagram. I mean, okay, some animals are fine with that, but some of them are like, I don't need to be your viral video today. So
Right.
they get that like this taking thing.
Mhm.
Here's one of my favorite stories, and you'll appreciate this. So
Yes.
I don't know if you know Jamie Sawyer. She's a creator of tarot decks and stuff like that, and the Pocket of Pierce Tarot. So this is me. I'm the Eight of
Oh,
Cups, and that's Bartolomeo.
oh, how cute. I love that.
So, and this is one of her tiles.
Uh-huh.
But the deck was a Kickstarter, and it's coming out. And I actually have the deck. But Bart and I are immortalized in the Pocket of Pierce Tarot, and I
That is
tell that
awesome.
story because first of all, he passed away this February on the was the ninth, and he was my heart. It was the hardest loss of anything, human or animal.
Mm-hmm.
But I was doing a psychic radio show on Blog Talk Radio. Does anyone even do Blog Talk anymore? Is that even a thing? Is Blog Talk even a thing? But it was called Cosmic Caffeine, and it was like, like 10 years ago. And Jamie the psychic, she started the thing, and then I came on as a guest. And after the first night, she's like, I want you to be regular. And I'm like, of course I will. So it was out of my comfort zone, but I had a blast. And it was just audio, no visual. So Jamie was in December kind of going to a hospital, putting hands on this guy named Frank, and she was healing him. The doctors actually said, what's happening to him is miraculous. And so this got him through the holidays, and then he did pass in January. So Fabian had a friend at his pottery studio. She's like, I need someone to take care of this cat. You're the only person I trust. And he's asking me, and I'm not the one that goes easily with the animals. I'm the one that has to think about it. I test everything. Yeah. So I said, let's go meet the cat. And it's so funny because I was talking more to the other cat than the one that we're about to bring home. And of course, we brought him home. His name was Guido. I had to explain to my Argentine husband what a Guido was. And the irony is his family, his grandfather was from Sicily. I'm like, you don't know what a Guido is? Literally, a Sicilian Guido is the epitome of the gangsta, Italian person. And you're Italian, right? Or no?
No, I'm actually Mexican American, but I know that my maiden last name is Venecia. So a lot of people tend to think I am Italian. I don't know. I may have it in my ancestors somewhere. You never know, right?
That's funny, but yeah.
Considered Mexican American.
Okay. So anyway, I explained to him what that was. So we picked him up on Sunday, January 6th. Monday morning, I'm kind of tapping into him, and I'm like, I don't think he wants to be called Guido. By that night, I was bouncing things around, and I remember trying to type like, hey, everybody, this is our new cat. I think we're going to call him Bartholomew, but his name was Guido. And as I typed Bartholomew, the red line appeared under it. And I'm a little type A with words and stuff. Like, I'm very particular with letters and names and things. So I was like, okay, backspace, because I need to spell the name Bartholomew correctly. So as I started typing B-A-R-T, Bartolomeo showed up as a recommendation. And I was like, boom, that's like the Latin or Italian or Spanish version of Bartholomew, Bartolomeo. So I said, here's what we might call him. And people were like, I love it, love it, love it. The next morning, I'm telling Fabian, my husband, and the next morning he's like, a man named Bartolomeo just passed away. Do you think it's a sign? I said, hell yeah, it's a sign. That's on a Wednesday morning. On Thursday, I'm talking to Jamie, the psychic, talking to her about my cat, Bartolomeo. And she says, Mitch, do you not know what Frank's name is? And I said, the guy that you've been healing? Yeah, Frank. I just know it's Frank. It's Frank Bartolomeo.
Oh my God, I just got the shivers.
And the day that Frank Bartolomeo finally did pass away was January 6th, the day we picked up Bartolomeo Guido.
Wow.
And the obituary that my husband was reading was Frank Bartolomeo.
Oh my goodness.
I know my calves are chilled all over. So it was one of those things where, and we told this story online, and Alice, the wife that survived him, we've kind of become friends. And, I'll post a picture of Bartolomeo, and she's like, oh my gosh, thank you. And, it reminds her of her husband.
Right.
And it was just such a bizarre story how that name came to be. Right. So, and he truly became, I would meditate in this red chair back here every morning. He would lay on my chest. I would set my timer in my phone, which doesn't make a noise or anything. And I set it for random times. He would be laying there and he would get up and walk away, usually within less than a minute of it going off. Like, he knew before it would go off.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing, powerful story.
Very powerful.
Some other cool ones are like the horses that I've connected with too.
I love a horse. I love horses.
I have a healthy fear of them, only because I know their majesty. I know their regal nature. I can sense their power. They are probably one of the strongest, powerful animals that I believe their contract with us humans is only second to like dogs. Right. cats, I think cats have like a group contract with us, but I think it's very different with lots of claws and pun intended.
Right.
Um, because we've got 3 cats now, 2 kittens, and we just said goodbye on May 1st. We've had a lot of animal death in the last couple of months.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, and it's the client loads has been the same thing. It's like one after another, gone, gone, gone. And I know it. I know they got us through this pandemic, or at least to this side of what's going on. There was a lot of that I picked up on. But Sheldon, our dachshund, he'd be 20 in August. So he was 19 plus years old.
Oh.
And, 5 years ago, we would hug him and say, hang out as long as you want. 4 years ago, we're like, are you okay? Hang in there, buddy.
Yeah.
So his journey was a real powerful one for us as well. We got to experience a little bit of what it's like to care for a senior
Right.
dog. Neither one of us are probably going to be like the main caregivers for our parents as they get older, but we certainly know what it's like to put down an incontinence sheet on our bed in case the dog has a slip in the middle of the night.
Right.
So it's been pretty powerful. Some of the cool stuff, teaching animal communications. I'll give everybody. I was trying to see if there were any comments or thoughts and stuff like that.
There's a few.
Or if there's a question, I learned this today. Put a Q and then like a semicolon, then we know it's a question.
Yeah. If any of you guys in the chat, hello, by the way. Hello, everybody. If any of you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask, okay? I mean, we're having an open discussion, and I'm sorry we have ignored the chat thus far.
Yeah.
I just been so interested in Mitchell's stories.
So I'll give you like my main lesson in a nutshell with animal communication.
Okay.
2. Spirit just told me to give you 2. First one, if you have animals in your house and you're sitting in one room of the house and there's no animals around, and maybe when there's no other humans around too,
right,
just call to your animal and imagining them getting up and walking into the room to you.
Okay.
And see how long it takes for them to do that. You don't say it out loud. You're just in your mind sending the image of them getting up and walking into the room with you.
Okay.
If it's a dog, it's probably going to happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
If it's a cat, if they're in the mood, they may do it. But you can get the cats to do it if you are persistent.
Right.
So the lesson in a nutshell, let's say in your house, Renee, dogs are not allowed on the couch. Let's just say that. I don't know who would do that, but let's just say that. And you walk into the living room and there's a dog on the couch. You're probably going to go, get off the couch, get off the couch. I told you, get off the couch.
Yeah.
Well, what I sense and see when you do that is the dog's looking and going, I'm confused.
Yeah.
I feel like you're telling me get off the couch, but the image you're sending to me is a picture of me on the couch.
Yeah.
So they're confused. So what you do is you walk into the living room and you say, hi, Fido, we had this conversation. Your place is over here in the bed. Please go to your bed. So then the image, as the words coming out, you're holding the image in your mind of them in their bed. Right. So that's how you get the animals to do what you want. Great example. I walk into my backyard of an old house. There's a black racer snake out there. I love snakes. I mean, trust me, I'd have a snake if I could. There's some upkeep though. There's a lot of upkeep. But I literally approached the snake and I said, listen, we have small dogs. I know you're not poisonous or anything, but if my husband sees you, you're going to lose your head. So what I want you to do, I love you. I want you to swiggle your way out of this yard through the fence and go somewhere where you can live a wonderful life. And he literally went boom, 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 boom. The back, we have and you could say you're having a picnic and there are a bunch of ants. Connect with the ants and say, you know what, this is the place I want you guys to go. You don't even want to say get away from here. You want to say over there is the place for you to be today. And have that moment. I encourage you, anytime you connect with an animal, be respectful. Like if you walked up to somebody in a Starbucks, you said, hey, listen, that's my chair, you need to go. You're probably going to get cussed out, but if you walked up and say, hey, listen, I don't know you, but can I ask you a personal favor? I always sit in that chair. I said, it really means a lot to me. Is there any way I can help you move over here? Make the connection to the animal, ask permission, and just, you're probably going to get a better connection.
I agree.
Another beautiful one, and every time an animal like a snake or something shows up, I look into the spirit power animal totem message that they might bring me. There was an
Yeah.
owl in a baby owl, an owlet in our screened in porch, and we have a cat, outdoor cat. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get this animal out. Well, he's flying up in 30-foot screens, and my husband's getting a ladder. I'm like, what are you going to, you climb up, he's going to fly away. So I said, listen, you take your energy away, just because his energy is. So
Yeah.
I said, I opened the screen door, I propped it open, and I just stood there. And from my heart, connect from heart to heart. That's the way you want to work. So
Uh-huh.
from my heart, I just had this moment. I said, you are a beautiful little owl. I said, but for you to stay in here, it's not going to be pretty. And I showed the image of a cat. I said, but this screen door is open for you to drop down and fly out. And I
Uh-huh.
just held that thought of him dropping down and flying out. 2, maybe 3 minutes, boom,
Did
flew
it.
right out. I almost lost my mind because I do this stuff, but when it happens, you're still shocked.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm like, all right, you're gonna live another day, because he probably would have either drowned in the pool or the cat would have got him or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
that's
and then
awesome. I love that.
yeah,
No,
and then I gotta look up the message.
I'm going to tell you a story too, because, like I said, I feel like I've always had a special connection to animals. And there was this one time I was actually at Bible camp or Bible school when I was very religious back in the day. Okay. And they would have certain programs to where you could go and you could help serve, right? You just had to choose which one you wanted to be in. Well, there was a horse stable that they had, and I was like, that's mine, right? I was like, that's mine. That's where I'm going. So the first day that I was there, of course, I go and I say hi to all of the horses. I make sure that I don't ignore anybody. And I'm like, I pet every single one of them. Because like I said, I used to have a horse. So horses for me, like I feel very connected to them. So there was this one horse in particular I felt very connected to, right? Like we locked eyes like right away. Yeah, have you ever had that too where you just like lock eyes with the animal and you're just like you like see into their soul and they see into your soul and you're like you're now my best friend, like one of those types
And
of
that's probably like a soul contract or a past life reckoning. I have had so
right.
many dogs so
Uh-huh.
connected to their men owners or their male
Uh-huh.
counterparts, and I'm like, I'm gonna say something that's probably out there for you, but I feel like this was your horse in a past life when you were a knight, because your connection is so tight. And horse and rider,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bond that is powerful.
Yeah, because like you gain this trust, and that's what it mainly is about trust, right? So, like I said, from that point on, I was like petting the horse. I was like feeding him, like giving him hay, and he was like real calm, real chill, real whatever, right? Well, the main guy comes in. He kind of looks at me like scared, right? And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm petting the horse. Like, this is my job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? What am I doing?" He goes, "I would be careful as I was you because that horse tends to kick." And I'm like, what do you mean he tends to kick? He's been like real nice and real calm with me, right? Like, look at him. Like, he was even surprised that he was letting me be that close and like petting him.
Wow.
I'm literally like petting him. Like, I'm not away. Like, cause you know how some people are like, they pet you like this. No, I was like up front and personal with him, right? So he was kind of like scared for me that I was gonna get hurt. But I was just like, he's fine. And like I kind of looked at him like, you're not gonna hurt me, right? And he kind of gave me this look like he kind of laughed, right? And I was like, yeah, you see, he's not gonna hurt me. Like, I'm not gonna hurt him. Like, we kind of know. Like, it's just like we already gave each other that signal. So he just kind of looked at me like, okay, well, I warn you. Like, if anything happens, I already kind of gave you the heads up. And I was just like, no, like we'll be fine. So from then on, I was like in charge of that horse because nobody else would go near that horse except for me.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And Scorpio Moon Spirit asked, can you connect with animals that have passed away? Yes,
Yeah.
probably about 50% of the 40% that I do are those that have already crossed over.
Right.
Typically, how I work, I use a scheduler online for my, psychic tarot readings, or they can do an animal communication reading. And if it's an animal communication reading, they send a picture of just one animal, that animal we're going to work with. So
Mhm.
if our call time, for the session is 7 o'clock, I'll show up to my desk, or I open up that picture about 10 minutes till, and I have an entire page full of stuff questions that I connect with them, and I
Ooh.
just write. So I have a whole page, and I usually open up, set an intention. I say, I'm going to go over this page. Stop me if anything makes sense.
Right.
Let me know if something doesn't. We'll dig deeper why I got what I got. And then
Mhm.
there'll be plenty of time for you to ask questions at the end, especially if I don't get over them. And you typically are going to look at their energy, their physical, if they have crossed over, you may look at, what happened.
Right.
I do like a body scan. I'm real good with, I never use the word medical intuitive, but that's another one that comes easy for me, just like the animal communication.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's pretty powerful and fun stuff. And a lot of times, I'll be honest with you too, and you get this too, because we don't always like to use the word like counselor or therapist or anything like that, but
Right.
sometimes we are just an ear for people to talk to, because
I agree.
nobody knows. So a
Mhm.
lot of times people are sitting there going, I didn't know who to talk to about this, but this was the hardest loss I've ever had. And I said, I hear you. I understand completely. And it was probably because there was a deep, deep soul connection and contract there.
I
So
agree.
sometimes just them being able to talk to someone who gets the fact that that's not just a furry animal that, comes and goes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree completely. So then, do you believe? Have you ever had where an animal has reincarnated? Because I really find that interesting as well.
So I personally don't feel I've had one reincarnate.
Hmm.
In the last 2 years, I will say I've had more and more times somewhere in the session, like 5 years ago, maybe 1 out of 20, I would get I'll be back.
Right.
And then of course I ask, what length of time are we looking at?
Yeah.
And I'll get like, a year or 10. Sometimes I'll get, I'm like, when you're old and gray, they're coming back.
Yeah.
But in the last 2 years, I probably would say it's up to about 40% of I'll be back. So I don't know if that's just what's going on the planet, that more and more of them are coming back.
Hmm.
Um, Something else that happens too, that I call, my term is overlay. I've never heard anybody else, and I've studied most every main animal communicator, which by the way are all women. It's so interesting. The big ones are all women. Yeah, the big
Wow.
ones are all women. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, Carol Gurney, oh my gosh, Danielle McKinnon, Penelope Smith, Joan Renquette. Those are like some of the big ones that I've read all their books and studied and worked with them and stuff. But so here's the example. So Lovita was a Pomeranian. My husband got her from a puppy. She lived about 13 years old, and so she passed away. And we weren't looking for another Pomeranian, but about a year and a half later, there was a 9-year-old Pom that was a stray,
Hmm.
chipped and everything, but nobody claimed her. Her name was Tiffany.
Hmm.
We couldn't change the name. Sorry if there's any Tiffany's out there. But at first, I was like, gosh, they looked a little bit alike because they were both blonde Poms, but they
Right.
were doing a lot of the same things that Lovita was doing.
Mm.
And I get what I call like an overlay of energy. It's like the one that passed away, their energy overlays, kind of connects. It's not like they inhabit, although I feel like they could do a little walk-in.
Uh-huh.
I just haven't experienced it yet. But it's like there's a little bit of overlay. And another overlay that I got, I was at a Terracon convention, and this woman said, oh, I know you're going to talk about animal communication next year. Here's my animal. And I said, this dog is so attached to a boy, and I feel like this boy is either like on the spectrum or something. She goes, yeah, my son's autistic. And I said, I get a lot of grandfather energy with this dog, and I'm
Mhm.
seeing this. So did your father, your child's grandfather, like, was his crossing like really close to your son's birth, and either they didn't get to see each other or your son would never really recognize? She goes, yeah, it was almost within like a month. And I
Wow.
said, what I'm sensing and feeling is your grandfather's energy is coming in, overlaying on top of the dog's energy, not
Ooh.
possessing or taking over. But the
Right.
main reason was so he could physically touch and be with that grandchild that he didn't get to physically touch.
I
Because it
just
was,
got chills too.
yeah, yeah.
I never
And,
thought
and, I,
of
and I
that.
could see it. I could see it in the dog's eyes. Like the dog's eyes were human eyes. We've all probably looked at an animal and go, now that's,
Yeah.
I've looked at a cat a million times, but those are human eyes. Or
Right.
you look at
So much
even some
sense.
weird animals. Yeah,
Yeah. Because you know how they say, how like in what's that one movie where she's like, if I die, I'm gonna come back as a bird. Oh, The Notebook. She's like, I'm gonna come back as a bird, and then they do the whole thing. Well, if you're a bird, I'm a bird. So now that makes so much sense to me.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
But
love.
I believe they're a lot of them are part of our soul family, which is like just a recognizing of the energy up there, and they'll sign on contracts.
Yeah.
that come down. And I do believe a lot of times they've been human before, they will be human. I
Right.
don't feel a lot, I feel a lot of the same, like animal. Not that they can't be human, but I feel more animal. And also, it's a shorter life. So sometimes they come in just for a quickie, just for
Right.
something quick.
Right. Well, that is awesome. So, do you have like a specific animal that you feel you connect to the most? Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna ask that, and then I'm gonna ask another question. So, go on with that one first.
So I I feel really drawn to reptiles. And
Okay.
I think it's because of the ancientness of them. You know,
Right.
again, I feel like a little connection like the Pisces, I'm the last sign. Some
Uh-huh.
people believe when you're a Pisces, you don't come back again. I don't necessarily buy into that, but if
Mhm.
this is my last lifetime, it's been fun. but but if it's not, I'm good coming back.
Good.
Even though I believe it's all happening at the same time.
Mhm.
But I'm really drawn snakes, gators, turtles, always kind of have been. But there's something so beautiful about birds,
Yeah.
you know, and it's almost like I'm going from, reptiles are very, water, earth energy, where birds are very much like air energy, and birds are often about messengers,
Right.
and I am kind of a messenger,
Mhm.
so there's a big connection there.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and then, like right now, it's just like I've moved into this amazing place of being, a cat dad,
Yeah.
and they're just some incredible beings. They really are.
So, since you're a Pisces, what about oceanic animals? Like my backdrop.
So
You ever had
funny.
connection with any of that?
Yes, the turtles, live in Florida, so we've been able to sneak down in the middle of the night when there's a full moon and sit quietly because the laws are very strict about this. And remember my mom and I going, "Oh, I see a shadow, I see a shadow," and you see the shadow come up and it digs its net and it lays its eggs, and it's just like mesmerizing to think about,
Right.
how old they are and how long they live. Funny, last night we watched 3 episodes of. Um, Looking or chasing ocean giants,
Mhm.
and it was about the different kinds of whales. Bowhead. Um, it's funny because we're like, we don't want to watch the orca one because they're because they're kind of violent. I mean, they're predators. It's like I don't watch Shark Week,
Yeah,
not
no.
for any reason. But I love the ocean,
Uh-huh.
but the thought of being like getting in the ocean in the middle of it is not a pleasant thought for me.
Me neither. I agree
Yeah,
because I'm like, even though like I love animals as well and dolphins, I love dolphins. I feel like dolphins are like my favorite sea creature for sure. But I will not step foot in the ocean because, well, mainly because I can't see what's around me and I need to be able to see what's around me. Like I'm not that person. So, and then too, like sharks, no, thank you. No, please don't put me anywhere near a shark. Like I know, like I said, but I think because, like I said, there's a different connection with. That's why I wanted to ask you with like earthly animals and then with ocean animals because we live in such a different environment, right?
yeah,
I think that has a lot to do with it. But I
yeah.
do connect, with dolphins, with turtles, the more like calming and like gentle type of animals.
And I heard this, and I never did the research behind it because I can't believe everything you hear. But I
Right.
heard that dolphins and dogs are like the only animals on the planet that kind of seek out human companionship.
I agree.
So
I
that'd be interesting to see.
hmm So, do any of you guys have any questions? Please feel free to ask. We are probably, well, we're hitting the 20-minute mark. So, we still got a lot of time if you guys want.
Yeah.
I know I'm over here the one asking all the questions, but like I said, I was ready and I was prepared for this. Ah, but while we wait for questions, so what about your tarot journey? Because I did find you through Terracon. So what about that? Like, how do you work off of the tarot?
So I love the cards
Mhm.
dearly. If
Yeah, me
if
too.
if I step into anything mediumship, my
Mhm.
hand just automatically puts the cards down.
Yeah, me too.
Um, I've studied quite a few people who talk about doing mediumship with the cards, and I love the concept. it's kind of like a pendulum for me at that point. It feels a little laborious and clumpy. And I do have some animal spreads that I've done, but basically if I'm working with an animal, there's no cards involved either. And I feel like my human brain kind of says, because like psychic work, and you can tell me if you agree, it's kind of the here and now between me and you. We're humans, the world around us, psychic energy.
Yes.
The moment I quote cross the veil, I don't feel like these cards go through the veil.
Yes.
So not that they can't, don't, but that's the only way my human brain kind of can think about what it might be.
Yeah, I definitely feel like you do have to cross the bridge every now and then, especially because like I don't use the cards in my mediumship either. Every now and then, if some specific spirits do want me to use the cards, then I will, because for whatever reason there's a gap or something that they don't feel comfortable, or something happened to where they just, every now and then you do get that spirit where they're like, no, use the cards. So if the spirit tells me to use the cards, then I will use the cards, but I tend to keep that separate also from my mediumship work too. So I agree. Mm-hmm.
And I started, doing the cards on my own. My boot camp, I remember reading John Edwards' book. He's like, my tarot boot camp was at the flea markets in Long Island. And I was like, where's my boot camp? When you ask, you find out. So I'm in Orlando, Florida. And one of my friends, her name is Crystal Bush. It is not a stage name. That's her real name. And she was working at Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida, as a tarot card reader. And she said, she's like, you should audition. So I auditioned at a Panera Bread. And of course she loved me, and because they don't have a lot of men either. So aerobics, I've taught group fitness aerobics. There are never hardly any men. Now there's more, but I'm always in a field where there's not a lot of men. So I started that, and let me tell you, I would be sitting in a tiny little space, and there would be a butt, someone's butt right here as they're buying merchandise. And on the other side of this wall is the Blues Brothers outside playing so loud I could barely hear myself. You want to talk about boot camp focus? Laser like focus.
That's true.
And I love to tell this story. They made us take the death card out. We could not use the death card because
that completes the deck.
It's a holiday vacation. They didn't want death coming up, and I always joke this out. Okay, if the Six of Swords comes up, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So did my boot camp there. We've probably all done the same thing where we've done readings at Starbucks. I've done readings on the dash of my car. Finally started working online. When we moved to this house 5 years ago, I created my home office. And since the pandemic, I've only had a few people into my home, people I've read for before, just still kind of being cautious with that. 2014, I went to the first Terracon, which is Marcus Katz and Tally Goodwin put that on. It was in Dallas 2 years. And then South Florida, and then the hurricane blew it out one, and then they were afraid the hurricane was coming the next year. And Reader Studio 2015, I got to present on the main stage there. I did tarot and hypnotherapy as a tool for kind of transformation and healing. That was a powerful event for me. And Ciro Marchetti is my favorite deck. I've got literally every deck he's created right here, and several duplicates.
Those are awesome.
And I've got several minis and everything, but I've got to do, for two of his decks, the Encore and Decoratif, I got to write two suits, the interpretations for two of the suits. One of them made it to the app, and then when they went to print with US Games, they went with somebody else with that had done it before. Plus, it was kind of the Marseille shift, kind of almost making it right away. So they needed someone who could handle what might come. And I was fine. Chidra and I were good, and we had a good conversation about it. Hopefully, in the next deck that's coming out, I think it's the Decoratif, my stuff will be in it. My name will be in it. So that's the closest to published author I'll get for right now. I love that. I've never had a desire to publish yet. I mean, I may, but that's work. It's solitary work to write.
It is. I've had somewhat of a desire, but I'm still working on it. It's a long process, like a very long process.
This is what I say. When I can sit down on a monthly basis and look forward to writing my newsletter, then I know I'm ready. Because right now I'm like, oh, I gotta do my newsletter, Yeah. And I always say, I'd rather turn on the video. I mean, and just talk and teach. I mean, my degree's in theater. I was an actor for 20 years. So
me too. I did theater as well. That was actually going to be like my main. I haven't finished college yet because full story, but That was gonna be my main degree, and then I was gonna have like a minor. So I love theater too. That's another reason why I was like, yay, I need to have Mitchell on my
Yeah.
channel.
And I even owned an improv theater for 10 years. We did like, like Whose Line Is It Anyway, or theater sports or comedy sports. For 10 years, we did improv. That was, within that world, that was my heart. Oh.
Yeah, I love improv. It's at first it's a little nerve-wracking, at first it is, but once you get used to it, it becomes so much fun. Like
And anybody listening to the sound of my voice, if you want to become a better tarot card reader, find an improv troupe. And even if you never have any intention of performing, you will become a better reader, because you'll learn how to get the blank out of your way. And you'll learn how to think in the moment and just stay focused. And the yes and, just go right off of that.
That's good. I like that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop up some questions. So we do have a
cool.
So Jean asks, so why does Spirit sometimes not want to answer certain questions?
So obviously there could be multiple different reasons. I think either one, there still needs to be a little mystery to being the human that we are. Many believe, as we come out of the womb, our minds are wiped clean, and we come back with like, a brand new iPhone with and you didn't back it up to the iCloud. It's like, I gotta put everything back in.
We're too lazy.
Yeah. So I feel like there's some of that. It depends on what the question is. Like if you're asking about maybe a sensitive issue, then it could be protection. Like I tell people, like when their animal passes away or a family member passes away, you can call them and ask them, invite them into dream time. But the challenge, if it's still tender, you wake up from that dream heartbroken all over again, because in dream time it is so real that they're there, and then you wake up and you go, oh, they're still gone. So the bottom line is, I would ask Spirit, why aren't you showing me this? Is it for my protection? Is it to keep me in this human little place? I always say, go to the cards and ask them, say, why am I not getting an answer, or am I getting an answer and just not realizing it's not the answer that I want?
And I try to tell people too, look, sometimes we're not supposed to know everything, or we're not supposed to have all the answers for a certain reason. Either we're supposed to learn them on our own, or we're supposed to just go through this journey and then we get the answer. It could also be about timing too, like you said. So I just try to, that's my way of trying to tell people, like, hey, sometimes we just need to trust and realize that maybe there's a reason why certain questions aren't answered at that particular moment. So I definitely agree.
And say, hey, Nancy's there. She became my moderator. Hey, Nancy. But and another thing is, we've all heard kind of like someone say, so when you die and you get to the pearly gates, what do you want to hear God say to you? My same response. I want to hear God, Goddess, Spirit, whatever, say to me, you got more than most people got right. Because I think that we're going to get there, and we're going to all have a mind blow of like, oh, that's what it was all about.
This is what it actually is.
Yeah. Because, and here's one of my mind blows that I feel like I got while I was still here. I remember Wayne Dyer one day saying, this whole thing about what's my purpose, he says, I think our only purpose is that we come here to experience everything we can and take it back to source. Because source, God, Goddess, all that is, can't experience itself, because it is all that is. And the only way for it to experience itself is to separate into these little bodies and experience heartache. I'll never forget going down this road. I went and thought, what if Jesus and Hitler are literally just the opposite ends of the spectrum of the same person? Because if you do the most diabolical, awful things, then somehow you got to find a way to experience as far left or right, or whichever direction, or up or down you want to look at it. And with that in mind, I'm pretty sure I coined this, and I looked it up, and I only found one reference, but not to the way I was saying it. And it was because one of my teachers said, I don't believe like karma's a bitch and karma's payback and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, where are you going with this? Because I'm liking what you're saying so far. Is that I believe that karma is an opportunity for us to experience something. And I was like, that's
Learn.
it. So my word was karmatunity. And it's like, it feels like a karmatunity, which is a karmic opportunity to experience something you or spirit, because literally, like you and I sitting here right now, this has never happened before. Your energy, my energy, what we represent will probably never have this string on the string theory of multiple gazillions of universes going on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And how cool is this that we get to bring this experience back to spirit and say, hey,
Yeah.
this is cool. This
Yeah.
is technology. And spirit's like, yeah, I know about your technology.
And that's funny, speaking about karma, because I was just speaking to one of my friends the other day, right? And I'm the type of person, I don't mess with karma. You know, I'm like, karma's gonna do what it does, and we just gotta believe that, right? I'm firmly in that type of person. So my friend was like, I'm so mad at my ex-boyfriend. Is it bad that I want karma to like get him? I'm like, okay, first of all, calm down. Like, you know, I'm like, second of all, you can't force like karma on anyone. Like, no matter, you seek revenge, you seek whatever it is that you seek, you ask spirit, oh, can you please send karma like their way? Like, no, because we have to realize, like, well, one, there's two sides to every story, right? So like we have to balance each side. And two, like I said, sometimes karma supposed to hit when it's supposed to hit for a purpose. So if we think,
Yeah.
oh, why hasn't karma got to them? Well, who are we to judge, one, if they deserve it, and two, the timing that it's going to happen? Just because you feel like you were wrong doesn't mean that karma is going to like do its thing when you want it to. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm always that type of person that's like, just trust in it. First of all, I would say you need some healing first. That way you don't even desire any type of karma.
Yeah.
And usually when it hits, to be honest, like whenever you've done your healing, and then that's usually when karma is like, oh, here I am again. Like, you know, like.
And my take on that, which I think it fits in with what you're saying, is when something like that happens and like a client sitting here with me or on the phone or something, I say, listen, I said, as tough as that person is for you, my belief, and it doesn't have to be yours, is your soul and their soul sat at a table before you came down here, and you said, all right, we've been lovers, we've been mother, father. Let me be your worst nightmare. Let us find each other in high school. Let us get married, have 3 children, and then let me turn into the biggest a-hole you've ever seen, and let's experience what that's like. And then they're like, oh my God, that sounds like a great contract. Let's sign that contract. And when you look at it just from that perspective, then you realize everything that's happening is an opportunity to like experience that, grow, maybe forgiveness. Maybe it's about you learning how to set your boundaries and tell them to get out of the house and never come back.
I tell them that too. I'm like, look, it's on you too, because you still have them in your energy, whether it be by contact, whether it be by waiting for them to come in. I'm like, look, you don't want them to contact you. There's a block button for a reason. There's a delete button. You can go and change your number. You're giving yourself that opportunity. So you have to ask yourself, okay, do I really want this? Or is this just something that I think I want? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And then keep digging deeper to see why this is here. It's like, I don't know if you've ever said this, but like I've had a client, she's sitting here and she's like, but I can't leave. And I'm like, you are feeling trapped. I said, I know you have 3 children and a husband and a job. I said, but you can walk out of my office, get in your car, drive to the airport, buy a ticket to wherever you want and never come back. No, I can't. I said, yes, you can. You can. And the moment you realize you can do that, you are free. Now, is that what you want to do? Because there are going to be consequences to that. But once you realize that you have the ability and capability to do that, then you're like, okay, no, okay, I'm not stuck. I'm not trapped. I'm not devil chained in place, And it's funny because you can see them going, but I can't. Yeah, I'm like, no, you can. You absolutely can. I said, yeah, but what about my children? I said, well, they're gonna, but you can. You can. You have a choice. I can't leave my job. Well, yeah, you can. And I said, and I'll tell you, if you hate it enough, the universe is going to take it away from you because you don't want to be there.
Yeah. I agree. All right, let's see if we can get to the chat. Everybody's laughing at our conversation. I love that. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, Talia, that's exactly how I look at life. Yep, exactly. Karma does karma. Does it need our help? Yep, I agree. All right, let me see if I missed any questions here. I think there was one way up
I'm
here.
just looking down at your admin. So Miss Wheats,
Yes, Ms.
Kitty
Weeks.
Corner.
Yes, and Kitty. How you guys doing today? Okay. Well, I think we've got through most of the questions.
I
I
was looking down and I was like seeing just something buzzing all over the screen. I don't know if it was your screen or my screen.
I think it's your screen. Is it a fly or is it an orb? Sometimes I can't tell the difference with someone.
I know. I don't think it's a fly.
Well, it's probably an orb for
That's
sure,
funny.
because that happens to me a lot too. Like I'll be live and people are like, "What's that flying around you?" And I'm like, I try to see if there's like any flies or like mosquitoes, because that's the first thing that I let my brain goes to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's probably an orb if it's not that, because I tend to do have orbs flying in and out a lot of the times.
Me too.
Yeah, because I work heavily with like my angels and my spirit guides and stuff. So, do we have any last minute questions? In case I have missed anybody in the chat, I believe we have about 5 minutes to. Can you believe it's almost been an hour?
Oh my gosh, you're right. I just looked at the clock too. I was like, oh my gosh.
I,
We have
I,
jabbered on, didn't we?
yes.
We probably knew this was going to happen.
That's why I said, when you said 30 or 60, I go 60.
Yeah.
I'm going to need at least 60 to ask all the questions I have. That is awesome. Okay. Scorpio moon spirit question.
Okay.
Could I connect with my cat who passed away 10 years ago through tarot? It was really bad passing and she was my soul animal. I'm sorry about that, hon.
Yeah, I know that, and I know that connection, and I believe you can. I'm assuming that you do read tarot, you're a tarot reader.
Mhm.
For me, the biggest thing was like, what you want to know from them. Set the intention for the question, for the energy. If it's simply, how are you? Pull out the cards,
Mhm.
or just something as simple as, do you have a message for me? Are you around? Are you coming back?
Mhm.
Or what can I do to, I love these questions, what can I do to invite you back into my life? And then also, maybe even just as you lay your head down tonight or the next couple of nights, just whatever their name is, just invite them into your dream time. Set the
Mhm.
intention to remember the dream.
Yes.
Set the intention that it will be a positive experience and not something kind of too challenging.
Mhm.
Just try to make that connection that way. But then also, anytime you think of them, either their energy came near, or because you thought of them, their energy came near. So it's I don't, whichever came first, chicken or egg, we don't know. But if their image or name, or you think of them, their energy is around you. Absolutely.
Yes, I agree as well. You could do little things as well. Like for me, I like to light candles. So I'll usually either write someone's name on it, or whoever I'm trying to connect with, I'll write their name on the candle, dress it the way I like to dress it for intentions. So that's my thing. I'm a fire sign, so I love fire magic. So I just light candles sometimes whenever I want a specific spirit or energy just to come through. That's what I do to set the intention, and that's usually what works best for me. So it just depends. Like, you definitely can do a million different ways, but I definitely believe, like you said, you can definitely use the tarot for sure. If that's what you feel most comfortable doing, then yes, for sure. All right, let's see.
Yay! Yes, I'm glad that helped, Scorpio Moon. And
Yes.
then also, not to pimp me out, but if you ever want to book a session, by all means, at mitchellosborn.com. Like I said, you would send me a picture. We could definitely do a connection that way as well.
I'm in tears. Oh, you are so sweet. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this session. Yes, like I said, I do have Mitchell's channel linked down below, so you guys can go ahead and subscribe. And I'm so glad you guys enjoyed this. And Mitchell, I honestly enjoyed it. So you see, there's a reason why I felt the need to ask you to come on now. I always listen to Spirit, because I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was reading, trying to catch up on the Terracon messages or something like that. And then you came to mind. I was like, okay. I was like, Spirit, why is Mitchell coming to mind? And you're like, yeah, ask him to be on your channel. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So that's as soon as I messaged you, as soon as the thought came into my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to do that.
Well, and you were picking up on an intention I set of, I need to do more of this. Because I've been asking myself this question every day: what makes me happy? What makes me happy? And
Mhm.
you know, you just ask the question. You don't try to answer it, but the moment you ask that, you start to feel something, and that's when you start attracting what makes you happy. And I thought, you know, I love just getting on the camera and talking to people and sharing what I've learned. I've read so much. I've had so many experiences. I'm 55 years old. You know, I've been around the block. You know, so you know, so you answered a call that I put out there.
Yeah.
And this Saturday, I invited Will from Atypical Tarot.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
we're gonna do coffee, tarot, and a conversation of opposites.
I like that.
Because
I really do.
if you look at us, you would kind of go, there cannot be two opposite people. You know, straight man, gay man, white man, black man. And it's funny because when I was talking about this, I said, I'm sure I'm old enough to be your father. So we got old and young. And I won't say, because he didn't say his age, but he said, oh, you're not old enough to be my father. I'm like, well, if you're over 35, if you're under 35, I can be your father. He's like, well, I don't think you can be my father. So I was like, dang, you aged well. So but yeah, even because I watched his coffee video, I'm like, we should have coffee and do this. And then even the way we drink coffee is opposite. So it's and just like how we look at, you know, how we look at tarot and see it. So it's fun because this is what Simon has brought together. Jen continued on, you know, this whole Terracon thing. So it's a beautiful experience.
Speaking of Jen, I'm actually having Jen on my channel also on Saturday, because I want to get to know her a little bit more also. I feel like our energies connect also. So
Yeah.
yeah, after I messaged you, I literally went to message Jen like right afterwards. And I was like, okay. But like I said, I also felt the intention to, right after I did Terrathon, I was like, you know what? I need to do more lives like this where I just kind of like chill, relax, like connect like with the audience, even though I tend to do that on a regular basis. But all I really do is like live tarot readings where I read for people. But I was like, no, I need to bring in some sort of session of like learning and asking questions and like things like that. So I was like, okay, I asked you, and then I was like, right afterwards, I went to ask Jen.
Cool. Well, very good. Well, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was a pleasure being here with everybody, and whether you're watching it live or in the replay, I appreciate you hanging with us.
Yes, I'm so glad. And again, thank you so much for agreeing. I really appreciate you and your energy. Keep doing what you're doing, please, because you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, and you as well. You as well.
And I definitely have to book a session with you soon. Don't worry, I will. I will.
DM me, we'll talk about that. You DM me, we'll talk about that.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, we are going to head out. I'm actually going to come back on in a few minutes, also do some readings for you guys. If that's something that you want to do, I will do that also, because I do have a little bit of time on my hands. So thank you guys again. And we'll hopefully do this again in the future.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and please stay safe. All right. Bye-bye.